In this video, I want to show you a setting in Windows Server 2016 and Server 2019 that you should avoid. It's a setting related to the minimum length of passwords, and it's very attractive to use the setting. However, it does not work. So if we rewind the tape back to Server 2012 R2, what you would see with that password policy is it has your same really six basic criteria: minimum length, min-max aging, history, complexity rule, and the reversible encryption that no one would ever use. So in this case, what I want to show you is the minimum length in Server 2012 R2 was restricted to a maximum of 14 characters. Once you get to 14, it resets back to 0. It loops around. And this really probably goes back to the days of LAN Manager and them storing a LAN-man hash. So if you're not familiar with password cracking, you may want to look at some of the videos out there. They would explain that the password is split into two different hashes. If it's 14 characters or less, the LAN-man hash is stored. So because of that, divider of 14 is very likely the reason that they stopped in 2012 R2. Well, when you step over to Server 2016 or Server 2019, which I'm about to do, then you will see that is different. So this is a Server 2019 machine, 2019 standard. And on this server, we have the same 5 or 6 basic criteria: min-max length, aging, history, complexity, and this reversible encryption. So if I look at the minimum length here, it's currently set to 8 characters. Now I'll show you a command you may not be familiar with that you can always use to get the one password policy that is there, and it's called net accounts. So unless you're using fine-grained policies, this is a great way to confirm what password policy is in place on your network. Because these settings should be set under the default domain policy, not the default domain controller's policy. So the default domain policy is specified minimum 8 characters. And I see that this matches up graphically to what I see in GPMC. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to increase this length, and I want to show you the result. So now I'm going to increase the length up to, let's say, 16 characters. Okay, and maybe I want to make the switch, force everyone to start using passphrases, and that seems like a very attractive setting. If I don't test this, I've got really big problems, because I'm going to set the setting and I'm going to do a GP update force to make absolutely sure that GPO is in place. And what we're going to see here, now this is a single DC environment, so there are no other DCs to send a password change to. So now that that's synced up, just to make absolutely sure, I'm going to close the GPO. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit that very same policy just to show you they're exactly the same. Let's see here: Windows settings, security settings, account policies, password policy. So here I see the 16 should be saved and committed to the system. Now, if I do a net user, I have several accounts on here. I'll choose test111. I'm going to set this password to password 1. So of course, if I'm requiring minimum 16 characters, this should not take effect. And in fact, it does just fine. Now, if I had set that to 14, I would be absolutely fine. Let's see what net accounts shows us. Wow, net accounts shows us it's 8. And it really is 8. Because when you set it to 15 or more, it's going to revert back to whatever that prior policy was set to before you changed to 15 or more. So watch, I will go back, I will change this to a minimum length of 14, which should be perfectly fine. Say OK here, go back, we'll do a GP update force. That will make absolutely sure that's synced. And in fact, once this completes, we'll do net accounts, and we will show that that password change is not possible. So let's do net accounts. Now it shows the 14 does stick, but 15 or more does not. And now if I go back to that same password change, not possible. If I go out to, let's see, summer has 6 characters. And if I go out to 1, 2, 3, 4, that puts me up to 10. 5, 6, 7, 8 should get me up to 14. And that's acceptable. So do not change your Windows password policy settings in the domain to 15 characters or more using the built-in default domain GPO. It will not work. Visually, it appears to work, but technically it does not work.